It was very weird to be back.
We're all here to honor the 40th anniversary of the Bolero.
He said he's been listening and he's been taking notes and he's very grateful. But tonight I just felt it wasn't sharp.
So I've said it before and I'll say it again, and I'm probably bored of saying it, but I never ever feel like he's not gonna skate well, like he's ever gonna wobble. He's so secure on the ice.
I almost think that this number could potentially be an icon of the series.
They're not pushing him enough because he can take more, he can do more.
Now I gotta say, I freaking loved this routine. Dun, 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 dun. That's my Bolero.
It's Bolero week at Dancing on Ice. Welcome to the Icebreakers podcast.
I am Matt Evers, sat alongside my beautiful purple princess, Frankie Seaman. It is Bolero week. It is the 40th anniversary of Bolero this week, as well as Personal Skate Week. Lots of emotion, lots of drama on the ice tonight. Frankie, I do have to ask you from the top of the show, what did you bring to our show that was personal?
Well, I'm glad you asked because I actually was dressed this week by New Look, this fabulous purple creation, but I bought my own shoes. So I felt like that was a personal touch.
It is. They're beautiful.
What about you?
Well, before we get to me, I do have a little surprise for you.
Ooh, I love surprises.
You might be wondering why the studio's a little bit reconfigured.
I kind of like it actually like
I
this.
rented a couple of guys to come in and move things around, shake things up a little bit.
Whoop, whoop.
They were cute. Weren't they, Jen?
It was Jen, wasn't it?
But your husband is here.
Where is
Personal
he?
effect. He's right here.
Oh my God.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Hi.
please welcome to the podcast. Hi, mate. Mate.
Sit
Just put
down.
Australian there. David Seaman, everybody. Woo!
Is that personal enough?
I think so.
I don't think you could get any more personal. Thank you for coming. Thank you for
Pleasure.
surprising your beautiful wife.
Yeah.
We're going to get into a lot more because we are going to have you on the bonus episode this week,
Right.
which we were super, super excited about. But how have you been enjoying, the podcast, giving up your wife for a couple of hours every week, as well as Dancing on Ice?
Podcast has been great. I've been loving it. I've actually started watching Dancing on Ice again.
After so many years,
Yeah.
I kind of been there, done it.
Yeah, no, he's brilliant. You know, I love the work that you're doing.
This is so nice that we've been skating anyway for the past few weeks. So now it's nice to be off the ice and now talking about ice skating. I feel like ice skating's taken over our world. Football? Who knew?
I know.
Exactly. Any critiques from the show tonight?
No, I watched it and it's good. I want them to do a few more lifts.
Okay.
I used to like doing the lifts.
You were great at the lifts.
Yeah, you know, so that's what I want to see. I want to see more of that, guys.
Yeah.
We might have one critique because the biggest surprise of the evening was seeing the amazing, the magnificent, the breathtaking
Keep going.
Matt Evers back on your screens tonight, people. You stormed that show.
I stormed the stage. I mean, granted, it was organized. However, it was very weird to be back. I have to say, it was like the first day of school. I was nervous. And some of the stage managers who have, we've known for 15 years, they were like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just really nervous. I couldn't stop talking." And then my feet started to shake, and I was like, "What is this adrenaline rush that I haven't felt in well over a year?"
Now you know how the celebs feel.
I do.
I was going to say, welcome to my world. In the tunnel of Dancing on Ice is the most nervous I've ever felt in my life.
Believe it. I
In
was
World Cups and everything. But
Really?
honestly, that is the worst I've felt for nerves ever.
even above football.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, we're going to ask you loads and loads about all of this.
No.
What?
You just need to slow down. We actually made a few little notes regarding the surprise performance from Matt Evers. I don't think anybody gets to skate on Dancing on Ice without getting a critique on the Icebreakers podcast.
I just broke out in a little sweat, actually.
So, first of all, welcome to the ice representing the US of A. It is Matt Evers. Now, I have to say, I really enjoyed this performance. I saw some nice footwork, excellent use of the ice. You were fast, you were strong, you were speedy. You came out to play tonight. There was an insane scratch spin at the end. I mean, I stood out of my seat and I cheered for the USA. Long live America. Skate great.
Oh my
Did you
God.
have anything to add to that?
No, I just thought it was a great presentation of the £120,000 backdrop.
Thank you very much.
Loving your work.
It was a-
Thank you.
It was a great spin.
Thank you very much. I haven't skated in a year, so it was really lucky.
So, do you have some football to go watch? I don't know.
I have, yeah.
Oh, well, go enjoy.
Go watch Arsenal win again.
Go enjoy. And we'll see you. Oh,
We
wow.
I don't know football at all, so that way.
You know that Steve, our producer's a West Ham fan, so you probably should
I
make
know.
a quick exit
really,
now.
I'm really surprised they admitted to that. But anyway, time to go.
All right, David, thank you. We'll see you in a little bit. Once again, make sure you guys tune in to the bonus episode on Friday for David Seaman.
Woo!
So, Frankie, personal week for me, I have to say, I found this week. And if you watch Dancing on Ice, you would have seen me wear this on the ice. It is an old vintage Leatherman's jacket that is purple, obviously, for Bolero.
Clearly.
B for Bolero.
Wow.
And I fell in love with it. Now, I have to say, after my little skate tonight on DOI, afterwards, they cut the cameras because it was a pre-recorded, and then the judges came over, like Jane, Chris, and Odie and Johnny came over, and obviously hugs and how are you and da-da-da-da. And the first thing out of Jane's mouth was, where did you get that jacket? And I was like, I found it at some random vintage store, and like I had to have it. And I almost gave it to her off my back, but then I was like, no, I kind of love it too much.
Maybe you can give it to her for birthday after you've won it.
Yes, that's a good shout. That's a good shout.
Well,
So-
you can put it on Dolly if you want. Dolly's dressed in purple tonight also, so I feel like all of us are very on brand. We're all here to honour the 40th anniversary of the Bolero gold medal Sarajevo Olympic skate, which was an incredible thing to watch. I watched it when I was 11 years old, and I feel like we should dedicate this entire show to Jane and Chris's achievements.
So speaking of honoring Jane and Chris, Dancing on Ice tonight started off with what we've been looking for, a bit of a big production number. It was a throw to the Bolero with all of the pros doing some of the iconic moves with them stood there. I could not imagine doing that. I mean, we've skated in front of them for years and years and years, but to do a professional Bolero in front of them, I would have been shaking in my boots.
What I loved about this entire routine tonight was that they literally did the exact same movements that Jane and Chris did when they skated in that Olympics in 1984. And what a lot of people at home won't realise is that Jane and Chris started on the floor for a good amount of time because the music that they had chosen was just a little bit too long to be within regulation. But the judges would only start counting the performance when they started skating. So Jane and Chris started on their knees and did that entire routine at the beginning without pushing onto the ice, and that's how they got away with it. And this is where Jane and Chris were so innovative, and I think people at home don't realise how their brains worked and how they were able to navigate these really complicated and restrictive rules that we had at that time in ice dance. Obviously, ice dance has evolved, it's changed a lot, and now it's not the same. But what was lovely was watching those five couples do that exact same maneuver and movement that Jane and Chris had choreographed 40 years ago.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. Chris found a loophole in the system that,
he exploited it.
Oh, he completely did.
Love it.
And I think the whole history behind that, and then seeing the costume designer
Courtney Jones.
surprise them in the studio tonight was just, it was beautiful. And then they went to Sarajevo this week, as we said last week on the pod here. For them to go through that tour and see, you know, where they won Olympic gold, where the history was made. If it wasn't for that skate 40 years ago, none of this would have happened.
It was historic. I remember watching it as an 11-year-old. It was groundbreaking. Not only with what they did, not only with how they looked, the incredible Courtney Jones, as you said, brought that whole costume together, that whole look together. It was very romantic. The whole country fell in love with them. We all followed them. We all wanted them to win Olympic gold. We knew that there was a high probability that they would, should they skate perfectly. I mean, let's not forget that prior to that, we had seen Mac and Mabel, we'd seen Barnum and Bailey, we'd seen some incredible routines from them in the build-up to that 4-year cycle. But when they took to the ice and performed that Bolero, and then they got the perfect sixes across the board, which at that time was the highest score that you could get. I mean, the whole country just was elated for them.
Including in the States, because I watched it as a kid too.
Really?
That was the year that I actually started skating. So I was very into figure skating at the Olympics.
It was the year I started skating too.
Was it?
Yes.
Oh.
Amazing.
I was 8. How old were you?
11. Ouch.
You fell into that
Wowzers,
one.
I know.
All right. So speaking of falling, let's get to the celebrities, huh?
Well, no falls this week, sadly. I think David was a little disappointed because he really wanted to see a fall. It's the only reason why he's here.
Yeah. Starting off the show with Greg and Vanessa James, skating to The Greatest Showman. It was amazing.
Well, Greg was channeling Matt Evers this week. I mean, you were
From
the
last
greatest
week.
showman last week. He was the greatest showman this week. This was a big number for them. There was an elephant, there was fire, there were other skaters. It was a really huge production number to open the show with. And he said that it was very special to him because it was a film that him and his kids love to watch at home, especially during lockdown, which I thought was really sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we're seeing how much the families get involved in their journeys with Dancing on Ice because it is all encompassing, as we've said so many times on the podcast here. Now, at the start of it, I knew he was there to play. It was started really, really strong. The characterization was there. He did say, because I got to talk to quite a few of them tonight, he said he's been listening and he's been taking notes and he's very grateful. So, Greg, you're welcome. But we love you. And well done for the improvement.
And we've been championing Greg since day one. And I've said in the past that I didn't think that he's been getting high enough scores.
Yeah.
This week, you're right, he did come to play, and I thought the piece was spectacular, particularly with all of the production around it. However, I will say, and I have been a champion of Greg and Vanessa's this whole time, Vanessa James, I do feel that this week was possibly one of his weaker weeks.
Okay, I know why you're going to say that.
Is it the groin injury?
It's not. I feel so. What I wrote down was I wrote down the technical aspects. The 3 turns were a little bit. I kind of went eek.
Not as clean as we've seen him do them before.
They're not as clean.
Yeah.
However, like the split roll up lift that they did was very strong and steady.
Difficult.
The ballet lift, again, we kind of saw that last week. So let's change it up. The landing was amazing. He put her down like a feather. However, I wrote down the movements need to be sharper.
Yeah.
He's kind of, which is great for a slow piece of music, that fluidity that you have from movement to movement within the choreography. But tonight, I just felt it wasn't sharp. I didn't feel like he was
on his full game.
Yeah, I don't think that he was totally on his full game with that. The skating needs to be finessed just a little bit, and if he can, he is gonna fly.
Well, I mean, we saw tonight with the scores that he got. I mean, that was a really high score to open the show with. I think last week the judges really moaned about his performance and his face, and perhaps he was concentrating more on that this week. Last week, I thought his face and performance were fine, and I disagreed with the judges completely, so judges put a button on it.
Yeah.
However, I will say this week, obviously the performance was improved, the face was slightly improved. I didn't think that he needed that anyway, and I think with concentrating on that, perhaps we lost a little bit of the focus that we needed on his physical performance.
Possibly. Jane did comment that he did perform it, and I think I completely agreed with her. It was nice to see a new, fresh face of Greg rather than that concentration face. Scores-wise...
I like his concentration face.
Do you?
Yes, I do. I think it's quite intense, quite dramatic. I have a great concentration face myself.
I thought that was called resting face.
Ouch, 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 ouch. Delete your number. I'm going to show you my resting face.
Oh, here we go. God, we're only on the first couple, too. Scores across the board were 9s and 8.5s, total of 35. Great scores to open the show with.
Yeah, the crowd went wild. I loved it.
But again, we have to be careful. These big production numbers, as we get closer to the final, they will start doing more production numbers. Don't get lost in the production number. Always try and stay the main focus of that. And that comes with sharper skating. You've got to stand out in the crowd.
100%. And I think when you're doing those large production numbers, sometimes there's so much rehearsal time given over to those to making sure that everybody else is in the right place that actually you end up losing a bit of your own rehearsal time in that. And sometimes you're going to have to put in extra hours to make that time up. And maybe that's what happened this week. Maybe that's why he was a little weaker than we've seen in the past.
Possibly.
Good score, though.
All right, Miles and Vanessa Bauer. Now, wow, what an interesting fact. They skated to Jimi Hendrix.
His dad.
His dad, and he's named after Jimi Hendrix.
I love that. That's his middle name, Miles James. I love that.
Now, I got to say, I freaking loved this routine. It was such a different feel to anything that I can remember within recent years of Dancing on Ice. The intricacy, and I'm going to talk about intricacy a lot on this show because it came up a lot in the judges' comments. The intricacy that they had in that choreography was incredible.
That was an ice dance routine.
Proper ice dance
proper
routine.
ice dance. Yeah, in fact they barely did any lifts, and they didn't need to rely on their lifts this week because you're right, the intricacy, the spaghetti arms, the constant moving and changing and shifting of the edges and the feet. I literally loved it. It was so complex. It was so innovative. The way that he rotated so comfortably both ways across the ice when he was doing his footwork was really beautiful. It was a thing
cool.
of beauty, and I don't know if the people at home would have appreciated it as much as you and I would have as ice skaters, and I don't know if the judges got to explain that enough to them. But I was really impressed with it this week. Well done, you guys.
Yeah. Now, the only thing that I was a little bit kind of gave me I don't want to say gave me the ick because that's too harsh, but the lift that they did, the knee on the shoulder, as they called it, I just wrote down crotch lift.
I wrote the same thing. And we weren't even together at that point. You were
We
still
share
traveling.
crotches.
We share crotches. Crotch moment. Yeah, it was a little crotchy.
Which,
I
okay.
think because she's tall as well, so it's
Yeah, and I get it. Like, it's 60s vibe, and I enjoyed it to a certain extent, but then I was like, oh, it's 6:45 on a Sunday night. People are probably having dinner.
Ooh, munch munch, nom nom nom.
So now there was controversy with the judges. I told you I'm leaving that comment. We're going to leave it right there.
I'm going to stare at you till you say something.
Great. There was controversy with the judges. Johnny talked about telegraphing. Now, we need to explain what telegraphing is. That is when you show us as the viewer you are about to do a trick or a lift or a move. Like, you can kind of forecast it, right? Completely disagree with you,
Can
Johnny.
you hear my eyes rolling?
Yeah, I did about 4 times.
Literally. No, Johnny. No, Johnny. No, no. I didn't agree with that. Actually, Christopher Dean didn't agree with that either. He said he didn't see what Johnny Weir saw, and neither did I. And obviously neither did you.
Neither did I. As Odie said, it was constant movement. It's hard. And as Chris said, they looked like proper ice dancers.
And what's interesting is that Miles has gone from being Mr. Wooden Spatula Hands, Mr. Wooden Spoon Hands, to this, it's evolved into this flowing kind of water-like Zen guy with this 60s groove about him, with his dad playing guitar. I mean, the whole thing was just it hits so many levels, it ticks so many boxes. I'm here for it.
I almost think that this number could potentially be an icon of the series. You know, we always have these certain standout performances that come in every series. And to me, this is probably going to be one of those for sure.
I agree with you.
So Johnny and Odie scored him 8.5s. Jane and Chris, 9.5s.
Yep.
Why? It's at least a 9.
Yeah, I think although OT mentioned the rotations and mentioned the skating and how smooth and fluid it was, I think she still doesn't probably understand skating enough to understand how great of a performance that was. Johnny,
Well, how difficult
and
of
how
a
difficult it was.
performance
Yeah.
it was.
Whereas I think Jane and Chris probably compensated a little bit for that, knowing that the OT wouldn't know that. They probably compensated it and gave it a 9.5. I would have given it a 9 or a 9.5 for sure.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure what happened with Johnny. He's not an ice dancer.
Maybe that tool got in his face.
Oh, that was a lot of fluff. Fluff. Wow.
I saw him before the show, right? Because we're mates.
I
Like,
know.
we've known each other.
Did you pick his outfit?
I actually made it.
What? Just right before the show, literally.
Just spun him around. I just had the big roll of tulle and I just spun him around and then put some duct tape on it.
He was like a meringue.
And sent him out. He was like a purple meringue.
He was like a meringue.
But it.
A boomerang.
So he walked out of the dressing room and I was like, Johnny! And I was like, Johnny! I was like, what? He's like, I had to do it. I was like, no, you look amazing. It also has a train. It had a freaking 8-foot train on it.
Saw that. He was like he was getting married. I'm here for it. I loved it. He stood up at one point and I was like, va, va, voom. There was train everywhere. There was fluff everywhere. He was like fighting through it. Woof.
But I don't know why. I don't know why he gave him an 8.5. I highly disagree with you, Johnny.
Yeah, same. Go.
I love you, but I disagree with you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on.
Well, this is interesting. Amber and Simon, who traditionally have been at the very top of the leaderboard, had somewhat of a fall from grace this week. Explain.
Okay, put the spotlight on Matt. No, it's because we discussed this before we started recording. So I came out of my dressing room and she was outside and she looked a little bit like a deer in the headlights. And I know I've met Amber quite a few times, just sort of, through town and the industry and everything. And I was like, hey, babes, how's it going? Well done. She was like, I feel it this week. I feel it. She's like, I've got this knot in my stomach. And I was like, not that I had to talk her down by any means, but, I think an outside source who has been there for X number of years that I have, I basically just said, we all get nervous. I told her, I was like, I was nervous to go out there tonight. It's just, how do we challenge those nerves? How do we refocus that weird energy into something good? And we had a great chat, which she was very thankful for.
Well, she probably just enjoyed having a friendly new face in her ear as well, because sometimes in this situation you get so bubbled with your professional.
Yeah.
Simon seems like a great guy. You know, we know the coaches are all great people, but sometimes I think it's nice to have a completely outside voice, a friendly outside voice.
I know that she was very, very, very nervous tonight, obviously because she was skating for her mom. This was a very emotional piece as we saw the VT. I mean, it was just buckets and buckets of tears.
I mean, I think the VT didn't do her any favors, if I'm honest. There's a lot of people out there who would love to have that opportunity to spend more time with their mom who may have passed away or may not be with us anymore, they may not have the best relationship with. And I think, you know, it's obvious that she has a great relationship with her mom. And I think they should have celebrated that a little bit more. And it certainly wouldn't have been the entire story that she would have told. It's just what they showed in the VT was very emotional and very kind of weepy, and didn't seem to be any reason for it. I think the viewer at home would have been confused as to why they were all crying when they have this great relationship. It didn't celebrate.
And she's not ill. She's
right.
not,
and it didn't, or not that we found out, we didn't hear of that. And so we didn't.
Moving to Australia.
Right. We didn't celebrate this beautiful relationship that they have. And I think that was a missed opportunity. And I think her watching that VT and knowing that there was all this emotion and putting all that pressure on herself to skate for her mom seems like a beautiful woman. Her mom just wanted her to do well. She would not have wanted to put all that emotion on her, all that pressure on her. No mother would. So I feel like the VT didn't do her any favors. And if that was the whole energy that they took into that performance this week, it showed.
Great point. I didn't think of it that way. I think you hit the nail on the head with that. And again, not that somebody at home watching would have had that exact sort of, you know, verbiage in their head or those words looking at that, but it sets the tone.
Oof.
Right?
Yeah.
It sets it kind of at a negative or a weird tone. And I think you're absolutely right.
Even at the end, she started crying, and really, you know, she didn't skate that badly. It was not what we've seen her do before, but it certainly wasn't a bad skate, but she was already on the edge of tears. So for me, it felt like something was wrong. And really, I feel like this should have been a great opportunity to celebrate this wonderful relationship that they have. She did some good stuff.
She did some great stuff. If I'm going to get a little bit technical with her, the 3 turns. Now, this is a move that happens typically on one foot, going from forwards to backwards. Please, Amber, if you're listening to this, I know you do because you told me tonight, work on them on your own.
Is there anybody in the studio that doesn't listen to this podcast?
I think they all do.
Good.
Yeah.
Hi, peeps. We're here. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
And we love you for it. Her 3 turns were a little bit sketchy tonight. And all that means is that the rotation of the body is off. You're either turning your upper body too soon or too late so that it's not following through with the hip, the knee, and then the foot.
And I will add to that. I think Jane hit the nail on the head when she said that all of her 3 turns are assisted. And what that means is that she doesn't do them by herself, but I feel that she's also reaching forwards for Simon, which is putting her body forwards, which is sending her off a balance of the 3 turn.
Absolutely.
Babes, so on your warm-up, start 3 turning by yourself.
And if you do them in hold, do them in a frame. And what I mean by that is, well, she knows what it is because she's a dancer. But what we mean by that to you at home is the frame between the man and the woman. There needs to be strength when you're in a hold, as you see in ballroom. And the stronger you can be together when you're holding on to each other, the easier the turns actually become.
Yeah.
So just work on those basics. But other than that, the lifts are stunning.
Spectacular.
The positions she finds in the air is just, I've never seen anything like it.
Now, what was really interesting with this is that I actually had a conversation with somebody earlier this week when I said I don't think she skates by herself enough at all. And actually, I thought her skating by herself was quite weak. She proved me wrong, and I was hoping to kind of get a bit more into this on this week's episode, but actually she proved me wrong. She started off skating by herself. She did some cross rolls by herself throughout the routine, so she is starting to get that, and I think all the judges pulled her up on that and said, you need to skate by yourself more. We need to see you doing better quality of skating by yourself. It still looked a little weak tonight, a little poor. I would like to see her skate more strongly, as you said, and have a stronger frame by herself. But I do feel like she's about to turn that corner. Yeah,
and I think, again, that comes from confidence. And if the whole routine was set to this weird energy, then by all means, that would have, well, sorry, I have to hiccup. But then by all means, that would have shown through, which unfortunately it did. Can we also give props to Simon? That barbell lift that he deadlifts up over his head in that face up position of the girl, that was incredible.
Yeah, and then he went straight from that into the upside down lift. I mean, what a great transition. Yeah, he's a good partner. We like him.
Now, Amber, also watch your extensions out of the lift. When you land typically backwards, watch what that free leg does, the leg that's in the air. Keep it extending because it got a little bit clubby.
So what's interesting is if you compare now, because we don't have any women left in the competition, but if you compare...
have Adele.
I was going to say, if you compare Amber to Adele, thank you there for jumping in on me, not letting me get my words
Sorry.
out. Any chance?
I was worried. Take that again.
So, no, I'm not going to take it again. I'm outing you. When we look at, if we compare Amber to Adele, and they're the only two women left in the competition, as you just pointed out, Adele actually has lovely running edges, and we saw that last week when Adele did her 3 jump. She had a lovely running edge, and what that means is that she continues to skate on one leg with speed and in a lovely position, whereas I think you're right, Amber tends to hit her toe pick because out of a fear, or maybe she needs to be in a place of safety, she hits that toe pick so she comes to more of a stop and everything gets congested.
Tonight, she told me that she struggles, obviously, with the nerves, but when she gets nervous, she comes up out of her knees.
Yeah, she's a dancer. Of course she does.
Of course. And so I gave her the analogy of whenever you feel that sort of pit in your stomach, bend your knees, period. Like that's the only thing that you should think about is when you feel those nerves kick in, think about bending the knees. So
off camera, how many times have I said that to David Seaman?
How many?
Like
Lots.
5 million. We've been together 15 years, so like 5 million.
Now, I have to say, too, a little bit more credit to her. She skated to Mama by the Spice Girls. It's a hard song to skate to. Yeah. It's a really weird mid-tempo. I understand sort of like the emotion behind it. But at the same token, too, I wouldn't have picked it. It's hard. It's like, what do you do to a mid-tempo song? And we've talked about that a lot on the pod. But
and plus, it meant a lot to her. Her and her sister would serve her mum on Mother's Day a breakfast and play that song to her. So I think growing up, it's meant a lot to all of them. Yeah. So you're bringing a lot to the table at that point.
For sure.
We saw how emotional she was.
Judges, 8.5s and 8s across the board. Odie wants to see more solo skating, as you already mentioned. Johnny said we are now on brass tacks.
I wrote that down too.
What does he mean by that?
I don't know, but it sounds painful.
It's because now it's the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
We are literally picking these people apart.
And he said that she needs to break free from partnering and skate alone, which we did see her skate alone tonight. I think perhaps this week wasn't the week to mention that. Last week would definitely have been the week to mention that. I have said in the past, and I've never actually out and out said names, but I have said I think, you know, that other people have been undermarked where certain people have been overmarked. I think Amber has been a bit of a victim of her own success, and we've seen that tonight. She ended up in the skate-off, and I think it would have been a shock to her because she's been riding high for so long. Yeah. And I think perhaps her and Simon have been enjoying that so much, as they should, that perhaps they've forgotten to work to continue to work on those basics. So hopefully this will just give her a little jolt, and this week we'll see her work on those basics a bit more and become a stronger skater for it.
Absolutely. All right, skating fourth, we had Ricky and Annette, Bob Marley's Three Little Birds.
I just love Ricky. I love him.
He was the first person to see me at the studio tonight, and he came up running with a hug.
How wide was his smile?
Like literally blocked out the sun. He is the nicest kid, and he wanted to say thank you to both of us, especially you, for the critiques that you've been giving him, because he has been listening and he's been taking those notes, as we've seen.
I could tell.
Yeah.
Because I knew that there were certain very specific things that I had said, and then the next week he came with them, and I'm like, oh, somebody's been listening.
Yeah. So cool as well. He got a message from Bob Marley's son. And we saw his smile there.
I would have been smiling like that too if I'd had a message from Julia Marley. Hello.
Yeah, so cool. Solo section with choreography, I loved. Absolutely loved it. Again, another step up from last week. Last week, we really saw him turn that corner. We were like, oh, actually, he's now a part of the race. And I, again, think this week he did come to play.
I did say that week on week we've seen him improve the most. It just he came from so far back.
Yeah.
And when I think it came to about week 2 or performance 2 or 3, that's when we saw him turn that corner. And then we've seen him come on in leaps and bounds, but he just started a little bit too far back to catch up. But I think he knew that. And you know, the way that he spoke when he went out tonight, he was very at peace. He was one love with his entire Dancing on Ice journey. And so am I. It was amazing.
It was really enjoyable
It's
to
been
have
really
him.
lovely to watch him. I did feel tonight's performance was possibly a little bit basic and a little bit simple compared to some of the others. And I think that's probably why he ended up going home tonight. I think he's been, in and around that sort of bottom 6 from the start, which has been a shame because, like I said, I think tonight was the most improved performance. The judges said the same thing. He had a little couple of wobbles, didn't he?
A little couple wobbles. I also, if I'm going to fault anything, there was, again, we discussed this last week or the week before, but when he goes around the corner, typically we would choreograph crossovers or some sort of movement. He does a lot of 2-foot skating.
But he did arm movements with it, so I'm just going to ignore that.
Yeah, but we can move our feet and still do arm movements.
Yeah, I think that's what he may have struggled with.
Yeah.
That may have been the problem. He did a throw loop, though, with a net.
The throw was amazing.
Woof.
The throw was great. All the boy does, well, people at home think all the boy does is just throw the girl. Well, no, there's actually some technical aspects behind it.
So hard.
You have to keep the girl level as you throw her. You're turning from backwards to forwards. So it is still a tricky move for the male celebrity when they do throw the girl. Scores, which the audience was not having, 7.5s across the board. He loved it, though.
He did, and the audience booed, but he was so happy with it. And that's what I love to see. I love to see people who have a journey where they've really started off not enjoying it. And you could tell he kind of hated it when he started off. We know that he's had some difficult routines. The shoe plattler was one of them. And so I think it's just been really nice to see him come that full circle. And just even when he did the skate off, I mean, he was just full of joy and he was loving every second, giving it loads. Do you know what I really enjoyed was when Johnny Weir stood up and he demoed the little hip work and the isolations.
Right.
Fabulous in his purple tulle 8-foot train, as we've talked about. Go on, Johnny.
7.5s across the board with all the judges, total score of 30. And unfortunately, Ricky and Annette went home.
Yeah, I mean, I think on balance it was fair. I think Ricky knows that it was about his time. And I think he's done incredibly well to keep fighting. I mean, he did the skate-offs and we saw him fight through that. So I think he's done a really great job, actually.
He has. And again, as we've said, most improved from day one.
Hold your head up high, Ricky, and continue with that gorgeous smile of yours. And I'll tell you what it is with Ricky. I think he's done himself a lot of favors on this show. I think a lot of people who maybe didn't know him or weren't familiar with his work have really warmed to him. Every week he's come up, he's showed up. He's fought for himself, but he's fought with grace and he's fought with charm. And I think a lot of people at home will have fallen a little bit in love with Ricky.
Absolutely. Well done, Ricky.
Yep.
And well done, Annette. Welcome to your first UK series of Dancing on Ice.
Welcome. Yeah.
All right.
Willkommen, in fact.
Uh-huh.
She's German. Oh, she's Austrian. Is she German or Austrian?
I think she's German.
Willkommen.
Bienvenue.
She's not French. And we'd like to thank our sponsors, Lakeside Shopping Centre, the leading retail and leisure destination in Essex.
Just 35 minutes from London with free parking and over 250 stores to discover.
And discover them we have, because this week I am styled by New Look.
And I am wearing these brand new trainers that aren't even on the shelves yet by Lacoste. Skating fifth, Adele and Mark 2. Young Hearts Run Free.
Adele and Mark are fast becoming they've always been my secret favourites anyway, but I've just kept it a bit on the down low, but they're fast becoming my favourites. And I think this week, and I've said in the past that she has been undermarked consistently, as I've said with Greg, but this week she stepped up to the plate and she got the marks she deserved.
She really did.
They talked about her world record. She has a world record for running the marathon as the fastest female with a stoma bag.
I know.
Didn't even know that was a thing.
And she started training 9 months after chemo. She then ran the marathon 12 months after chemo. And all I wrote down was, what a woman. And now, full disclosure, I was watching in the car from the studio to come here. And so it was a little bit laggy. So I missed out some of the VT, but.
Let me fill you in.
Okay.
So she talked about exactly that she ran the marathon as the fastest woman with a stoma bag. And she thought that Young Hearts Run Free was really a special piece of music for her because she feels like she's young at heart. And of course she can run free now, even with a stoma. It was really important for her to be able to show up and show other people with stoma bags that this doesn't stop you. And it was important for her to move her body after chemo because she said the more she moved her body, the better she felt, despite feeling terrible through the treatment, I'm sure.
Amazing.
She said moving helped her to get better. Cancer changed her body, but made her mind stronger.
Wow.
Literally. Can Adele come and live with me and just give me these incredible inspirational quotes every single day?
It's amazing.
She's a superwoman.
She's so incredible. And honestly, that's all I wrote down is, what a woman. Speaking of the performance, she lifted Mark.
I loved seeing her lift him. And I think not only was it significant that she physically lifted him, but I think it was significant that she's also mentally strong enough to do something like that, to tackle something like that.
Yeah, it was incredible. She had a little bit of a wobble about 3/4 of the way through.
Yeah.
But again, I think what we need to discuss with Adele is her edge quality. And Johnny talked about it. And for you guys at home, what he means by holding those edges, it means that you're on a specific part of the blade. Now, the blade has two edges to it, an inside and an outside edge.
Or a left and a right.
Or a left and a right. Forwards or backwards.
Yeah.
The strength that it takes and the quality of the skating that it makes to stay on one of those edges and have control just proves how good of a skater she has become. She was flying around the ice at one point and she was holding those edges. And it's like, that's hard for a professional to do. Like, you really have to keep your body engaged when you do that. We know she's strong, but the fact that she's able to apply that strength to the technicalities of how to move that skate it's spellbinding.
Well, well done to Johnny for pointing this out, because I've been saying this every single week. I just think she's been very undermarked and very undervalued for the quality of skating that she has been producing. Did you notice that her stoma bag was showing the entire time above that costume?
Yes.
Do you think that was done on purpose so that she was representing?
So I 100%, because I today on social media, I believe she did put up a couple of stories about it.
Oh, okay.
Because they have been using a different stoma bag, but this is an older version, and she did say that it is going to make that Audrey is going to be making an appearance, and I do believe by sort of promoting that was for visibility, for sure.
I think, and I know because I'm an ambassador for the Bobby Moore Fund, that there's a lot of stigma around stoma bags. You know, obviously it has to do with the bowel, it has to do with the digestive system. You know, it's poop. People don't like talking about it. So I think for her to have that on show and say, hey, look, I'm still here. This has happened to me. And look, I'm living my life to the fullest.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's incredible. It really is incredible. Pretty much echoed the judges. All were saying there is no end to her talents. Now, I'm going to say one thing. Mark Henretti is a very close friend of both of us. Watching this performance tonight, I saw a little bit of the old Mark. Now, what I mean by this is he's very protective of his partners.
Yeah.
And that is an incredible quality of his. But Adele is strong.
Yeah.
And she can skate. I now want to see Mark stand up to the occasion and skate with her.
Yeah.
Don't skate for her.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to take their partnership to a new level. And I don't
It's
mean
going to take it to the level that Ray and Maria had, because they skated, of course not completely as equals, but she skated to complement him.
Yes.
And Mark can do that now.
Mark, yeah. So I know you listen. Just, you know what I mean? And this isn't coming from a negative place by any means, but I could see that you were getting into the old Mark Henretti, where he used to sort of favor the celebrity a little bit too much.
Which is an incredible quality to have as a professional on Dancing on Ice. You need that 100%, but she's ready now.
She's ready.
Yeah.
Let her fly.
And fly with her.
Where are they flying to?
I don't know.
Dubai?
Hope they come back.
Yeah, I hope they come back. She got to come win this show.
Did you just say she's got to come and win this show?
Yes, I did.
Yes, I like that. Now you're singing from my notebook.
From your iPad.
My iPad.
Oh, my digital notebook.
Take it.
At least you took the strap off this week.
That's right.
Okay, judges' scores were a little bit all over the shop. Johnny, 9.5. Odie, 8.5. Jane and Chris, solids 9. So that was a total of 36.5. I think they were a little bit confused. They didn't know what to do with her.
Yeah, I agree with you. She equaled Miles and two completely different routines.
Yeah.
So let's see onwards and up. Let's see where this goes, because I'm interested. She comes every week and she tells a story.
Yes.
And I really love the stories that she's telling.
She's
I'm
loving
here for it.
She absolutely loves it.
Yeah.
She was just all smiles. And again, like you said, I want her to move in with me because she's literally the most positive woman that's probably ever walked the earth, at least that I've ever encountered.
Or run or skated the earth, in fact.
Exactly. All right, skating 6th, Eddie and Vicky to Jump. What a track.
Boom. Did you air guitar? We all air guitar. Come on.
Well, I was in the car.
Yeah, air guitar.
I didn't air guitar. I was worried I was going to lose my connection. Having met Eddie this evening, he's the nicest man on the planet. He's very shy,
Yeah.
which I wasn't expecting.
You expect him to be a bit more...
I was expecting him to be a little bit more like out there. And,
extravagant.
Yeah. Well, not extravagant, but you see him in the VTs and of course he's on because he's on camera. But I thought backstage that he'd just be a little bit more out there and he's
Okay,
not.
Matt, but perhaps he was concentrating on his upcoming performance. Hello, it's not all about sucking up to you. As if. Eddie's in his zone, man. He's an Olympian. He's getting
Very
ready
true.
for that jump.
Fair enough. No,
I'm
but
sure he was
also
definitely pleased to see you, though.
Vicky did say that, she was surprised by how shy he is too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll stand down for a while.
Now, he started off on a ski jump, which was brilliant.
Amazing.
Again, it's one of these, they are nailing his creatives because each week he comes out and we're like, oh, it's the gimmick.
Yeah, true.
But then the second he starts skating, you're like, I wrote down, oh my God.
You'd write that every week for him.
I do.
I know, I love him. I agree with you. I love him because the minute he steps on the ice, you're sort of waiting for that kind of Ricky Hatton moment or that Todd Carty moment because he always looks like he's going to be comedy gold.
Yeah.
And then he comes out and he skates and he's fast and he's strong and he's connected to the ice. And I never, ever once, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, and I'm probably bored of saying it, but I never, ever feel like he's not going to skate well, like he's ever going to wobble. He's so secure on the ice. He's
confident, he's cool, he's collective, he's in control. The extensions that he has are incredible. The choreography that they had, I mean, there was tricky bits,
It's a little simple.
but it was a little simple. I think that they could work a little bit more. Take a note out of Miles and Vanessa's notebook for the choreography. Really kind of concentrate on that.
I don't think that's his fault. I think they're not choreographing him. They're not pushing him enough because he can take more, he can do more.
Mm-hmm.
He's very capable. And I feel like they're kind of choreographing him down. I feel like the whole thing this week from the VT, well, the VT was actually very inspirational. He talked about sleeping in a car. He talked about stealing scraps out of a bin. I mean, God love the man. What people do to get to the Olympics is incredible. And his journey in particular, we remember that in Calgary, the way that he flew and soared like an eagle. He was another person that became an icon of British kind of underdog and really took that role and ran with it. And the nation fell in love with him. I felt like the minute he got onto the ice, although he is fast and he's confident, all of that, I felt like everything took a bit of a downturn. And when they showed his highlight reel at the end, and they showed some of the things that he did, they kind of focused on his wobble, which they don't normally focus on people's
Did
wobbles.
they?
Yes, they
Oh, I
showed
missed
it.
that.
Oh, I was furious.
They normally don't ever show mistakes.
I know.
In the playbacks.
I did like a raspberry with my lips then when I said furious. I was like, furious.
Furious.
I was really mad because I was like, they don't do that to other people. So I felt like they were kind of dragging him down a little bit. And then with the judges, what they spoke about was kind of dragging him down. And even by the end of it, he was on kind of a bit of a downer.
Yeah.
And the whole thing was so unnecessary because he's a great skater. So choreograph him up, push him a little harder, and we could really see great things from Eddie. But I feel like he's just kind of stuck in the same place at the moment. And that's not his fault at all.
No, for sure.
He's
for
very
sure.
capable.
I'm going to say this again. They had similar lifts to other couples this week.
Oh, pull through.
Why is this happening?
Cartwheel, backflip, yeah.
Because you go in on your Mondays or Tuesdays for choreography and everybody, the production team knows what tricks people are doing. And I understand we're getting to that point in the series when it's hard to learn new things because there's not enough time. But at the same token...
It's a competition. That's the whole point.
It is a competition, but I think too it's a matter of if the communication needs to be a little bit better so we're not seeing the same tricks in the routines within the same show.
Agree.
Right?
But on top of that, he did do some incredible solo steps. He did jump after jump after jump after jump. He's steady on his feet.
Yeah, he's very steady. It's so smooth.
Spaghetti arm transitions, which nobody really talked about. I mean, that was different. I just don't know why the judging panel and the highlight reel took such a downturn after what was an essentially really good skate.
Well, I think they're looking for more intricacies, the word of the show. Again, it was just a little bit side-by-side skating. However, let's think about the creative. They're supposed to be like ski jumpers and downhill skiing. It's going to be hard to add in the intricacies into that sort of creative, right?
Sure. And he did do a scissor lift. I felt he skated a little slower than usual, but they were definitely very unkind in that rewind to him.
Yeah. 8s and 8.5s across the board.
Booed.
Yeah,
booed.
I booed.
32.5
was the total score. Chris wants to see them connect more, and I can understand why he would say that within this routine. And Johnny Edward talks about edges again. He said he wants to see him believe in his edges more. And what that means is the confidence that Adele has in her edges. he wants to see Johnny have that.
No.
Oh, you don't agree?
I don't agree.
What's new?
He wants him to... Oh, put it all on Frankie. Well, I'm just saying, listen, I feel like he's very confident in his edges, and I feel like he already has quality edges, a lot higher quality than some of the other competitors, where it doesn't get mentioned. So, no, I have to disagree with that.
Okay, fair enough.
Sorry, Johnny, but you looked amazing in that tulle. Whoa. Whip.
Whip my hair back and forth. Okay, last to skate tonight, Ryan and Amani to easy.
No, they weren't the last to skate, though, were they? Because we had a little Matt Evers intermission.
Oh, geez, we've already been through this.
Oh, it was amazing. I loved it. I love seeing you. I think, well, we will see in the comments that we get for next week, but I'm sure everybody just loves seeing you on the ice. It was so nice. You won't have heard it because you were concentrating, but the cheer that happened when you came out, I mean, it was really lovely.
I did hear it because at one point I got a little bit too close to the stage, and you could probably, I haven't seen it yet. Like, I didn't watch it back. But I do remember turning forwards and seeing the headers and being like, whoa, a little bit too close for comfort. And I did kind of shift a little bit.
Everybody loved having you there. You're so missed on the show. And I think actually we would have liked to have seen a little bit more of you. Not as in like taking clothes off, as in we would have liked to have seen you skate more. Like it would have been nice to have more of a chat with
Those
you.
chaps that I have.
Ooh. Yeah, cowboy.
Can we move on?
No, because the crowd went wild. Okay, we can move on. We can move on. I'm just fanning. I'm like,
Fluffing.
my friend's been on TV. I want to make the most of it and milk the moment.
God. Ryan and Amani. He's back.
Sorry, it's a podcast. I shouldn't just nod silently, should I? I should say something, right?
Please. I was like, not everybody can watch us. Some people are listening.
He is back. Is that better?
The baby's back.
Back, baby, back. I loved tonight. I thought it was really nice. Obviously, James Thomas that was a musician in a band. Obviously, we lost Ryan's dad, James, 3.5 years ago. And so it was such a fitting, beautiful tribute to have Ryan skate to his dad's performance. I mean, it actually gave me goosebumps. It was really lovely. And I think the whole family got involved, all the brothers, they're obviously very close.
Yeah, very close family.
And I think for Ryan, it was probably, a moment of a lifetime that will stay in his history. It's like your wedding video, just one of those things that he's always going to look back at and say, yes, I was there with my dad. And did you see him look up at the end?
Yeah.
Really,
it was
really
absolutely
gorgeous.
incredible.
Yeah.
I think he has had a rough couple of weeks.
Well, we need to revisit the falls that he had last week.
Yeah.
And revisit them we did because I watched it last week when I got home again on catch up. I had to go back and just see exactly what happened there. Because I was convinced that because he fell and tripped so many times, he tripped and then he had 2 falls, I thought for sure there was something wrong with his blade, but I don't think there was.
No, I think he said to me tonight that it was a matter of he's finding it hard to be present.
Is he?
Right? And then we hear a lot about that on social media, just in general, about people in their lives. But it's even harder when you're in an environment like Dancing on Ice.
I think it's something we as performers can really relate to because you have those moments when you're literally doing what you're doing, but you're thinking about something completely different.
Yeah. And
it's trippy.
Yeah. And I think that's when, because the ice is so inconsistent, that's when things can go wrong. And I kind of feel like tonight he may have found that special place to be able to perform and do what he's doing, but staying present, staying in the moment.
Yeah. Well,
being
I
very
hope so.
aware, right?
Do you think it's because he was wearing brown again? Oh, yeah. Laugh it up, giggle chops. Because they were wearing brown again.
What?
Oh no, man, I just don't like brown on the ice.
Again, have they worn brown before?
Yes, in their first performance. So maybe they need to wear brown more often. I think it's actually quite lucky for them because they wore brown in their first performance, which he came out like a bullet from a gun.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. And he was amazing. He bossed that leaderboard. Granted, there were only 6 performers that week, but he was top of the leaderboard with Amani, and I just couldn't go over the fact that they wore brown. This week, I think he bossed it again. It was amazing. And they wore brown again, although this week they looked a lot nicer in their brown.
True.
Yeah.
35 total score. Johnny gave him an 8. Odie, Jane, and Chris, 9s. What was Johnny watching?
I don't know. Brown. I think Johnny is equally offended by brown as I am, but But Johnny, just so
Again,
you know,
the tool got in his face.
Yeah, we don't comment on, we don't judge or mark on the costumes, Johnny. So, oh no, I hear you, but no.
Do you remember when Jason Gardner did?
Yes. He had a very off-colour, if I dare say it, pardon the pun, comment about Sharon Davis wearing a brown costume and referenced a toilet flushing situation.
Disgusting.
It was double ouch.
Chris said, what a difference a week makes. Odie said, stunning performance. She appreciated the fact that he was exposed and not, of course, with clothing, but that he was exposing his emotion and really found that balance of the technical skating side, the acting side, the performance, sort of all encapsulating this really wonderful piece.
And he skated to Easy like Sunday morning, but I wrote down that I thought it was very classy. It was very smooth. It was a really fitting way to end the show. You know, they had a couple of struggles. They did the tabletop. They did the aeroplane. I did think overall it was a really beautiful performance.
I loved it. And I'm so glad that he's in a much better place.
No falls.
May it continue.
Long may it continue.
Way to go, Ryan and Amani.
Did you notice that when he did the aeroplane spin at the end with Amani, he actually dipped her down before he brought her up, which again is another level of technicality. And if we were, you know, going to be actual skating judges, we would give an extra level of grade for that, for being extra difficult.
Absolutely.
I said extra a lot in that.
Extra.
I'm
Read
so
all
extra.
about it. So there you have it. 7 teams. Show's getting shorter and shorter.
Yeah. Well, that double elimination last week really kind of, I think, sorted out the wheat from the chaff.
All right, let's have a look at that leaderboard. Ricky and Annette were in 5th place with 30 points. Eddie and Vicky, 32.5. Amber and Simon, 33. Now, like last week, there's a couple of ties here. Greg and Vanessa, Ryan and Amani were tied or joint 2nd with 35. Miles and Vanessa B and Adele and Mark were joint 1st with 36.
I'm always very suspicious when there are ties on the leaderboard, as we saw last week, because it always means there's going to be a little bit of a shock. And shocked we were.
You do love a conspiracy.
I mean, my lips are sealed.
Open.
Open for business.
So they dropped a surprise tonight. Next week, team challenge.
More like a shock.
It's a shock.
You hate the team challenge.
I highly dislike the team challenge because it's brutal.
I mean, you hate it.
We don't use the H word.
I mean, you hate it though.
I hate it.
Hate it.
Do you want to explain what it is?
No, because I hate it just as much as you do. But
so this is what I'm thinking. Because if we're going to go off historical, facts.
Historical or hysterical?
Both. So 6 couples left. They'll divide them into 2 teams, so 3 and 3.
How did they decide who skates with whom?
Probably out of a hat. I don't know.
Like Harry Potter, the sorting hat.
Yes, exactly.
Great.
Then at that point, the total combined score of Team A, as we'll call them, if it's higher than Team B, Team A will be safe. Then Team B then goes to the public vote. And then those 2 bottom within Team B have to do the skate off.
Boof.
Does
So
that
you
make
could
sense?
actually skate really well. Yeah, no, not really. It makes sense the way you explained it, but it doesn't make sense to me at all because you could actually skate quite well, be in the middle of the leaderboard or even second, but because your team sucked, if the person who
Hopefully not.
well, okay, if your team didn't do very well, I'm going to rein that in a little bit, sorry. If your team didn't do very well overall, you could end up in the skate off. And if you fall or trip in the skate off, it's good night.
I know.
Ba-boom.
However, unfortunately, the skate off tonight, Ricky and Amber went up against each other.
Look, I think people would watch the skate off and think, oh, there's only one winner here because historically Amber has been at the top of the leaderboard. So we already know that the judges think she's a great skater. Why would they then vote her off? But what you forget is anything can happen. This is completely out of anyone's control.
Right.
If Amber would have fallen in that skate off, she would have been gone tonight. It was a big risk for her. And she's never had that skate off experience before. And plus she's been riding high thinking, hey, I'm doing great. I'm at the top of the leaderboard. I know she's not conceited, but there is a sense of safety and security that you get from always being the top of the leaderboard, being the golden girl. And then all of a sudden you're like, but what, I'm in the skate off. That can really pull your stomach from out from underneath you with your feet.
Yeah.
And it could really have sent her on a wobble. So she did really well to hold it together. I applaud you, Amber, for doing that. And what I will say, and I'm going to put the cat amongst the pigeons here, and I don't know why anybody has never noticed this, and it was always a bit of my secret to my success.
Meow.
But the skate off's the most important skate in the whole series. Like if you can have a terrible skate on the night and you can be bottom of the leaderboard, but if you've been practicing your skate off and getting that to perfection, nobody can beat you. So people, practice your skate off, prioritize your skate off. It should be your warm-up.
Especially if you're new to the show, which we have quite a few newbies left still in the competition. Take that word of advice. practice that skate.
Well,
off.
now I know that they're all listening. I feel like this is advice that I can give them to everybody. When I thought only 1 or 2 people were listening, it didn't feel fair to offer that advice. But you should be practicing your skate off now more than ever, because you never know when you're going to be in it.
Very true.
And if you can win a skate off, well, no one can beat you. You can be in the final.
Very, very, very,
Enjoy.
very true.
Oh, they're all going to be literally doing extra lessons now.
We're gonna get like
skate off.
text messages from all of our friends at the studio, like, "Oh my god, I had to do the skate off 6 times in one session."
Why did you say that? So Ricky went out with a bang. He was loving it, and he's done so much for himself on this show. He's won so many fans, an army of fans, actually. He spoke so well. He wasn't disappointed at all. He skated great. And actually, by the end of his routine, I was right there with him. He was loving every minute. He was giving it loads. He knew it was going to be his last performance, and he skated. He rose to the occasion.
Yeah, and to go back to his first days on the ice,
Wow.
I never would have thought he would have gotten to week 6.
Amazing.
So congratulations, Ricky. We loved it. So next week as well as Guilty Pleasures.
What's guilty pleasures?
It's like the boys were talking tonight, like Greg is going to be skating to like boy band stuff. Like, I love this because you start to get to see the real personality of that celeb.
I thought he'd be skating to Britney Spears. It's my
Why?
guilty pleasure. I don't know. It's my guilty pleasure.
Right. Wait, Brittany's your guilty
I
pleasure?
think so, yeah.
I got to start thinking about my outfit for next week now.
Same.
Maybe I'm going to come as Brittany. She's a bit of my guilty pleasure.
Did you just steal my guilty pleasure?
We can have the same guilty pleasure.
I don't think so.
Well, I can't come as chocolate pudding, can I? Like, how am I? That's my guilty pleasure, Frankie. Like
What?
the
What?
Aldi's, oh my God, the protein chocolate pudding from Aldi. I don't care. I'm name checking them. They deserve it. And I want
Really?
lifetime supply of
It's that
Aldi.
good?
It's like 99p too.
And what kind of music would you set this guilty pleasure to? I'm struggling.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, I guess, but it's been done.
Yeah. What, you got Rain on My Parade again?
Well, you just stole Britney Spears from underneath me. I'm going to have to pick somebody
You are
else
not coming
now.
as Britney Spears.
I'm definitely coming as Britney Spears.
Oh,
Whack.
I cannot wait.
No, I'll come as Ariana Grande, and it can be Battle of the Biatches.
The biatches.
Yeah, biatches.
All right. Shall we wrap this up?
Yo.
All right. So make sure you guys tune in Friday. Don't forget the bonus episode with Frankie's David Seaman.
My love.
It's going to be awesome.
We're going to talk all about our relationship and how it blossomed on the ice, and couples that skate together stay together.
Hand to the face. Remember, this is a podcast. So you have to kind of, if you're going to do something like that, you need to say, and now I'm putting my hand to Matt's face.
That was for the bonus episode only.
Oh, right.
Making sure people are watching.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching and for listening to the Icebreakers podcast. Make sure you jump on all of our socials. And remember, too, in that bonus episode, we do get to a lot of your questions because we love hearing from you. Jennifer, our producer, just did a big yawn. So if you heard that, that's what it was. It wasn't my stomach gurgling. She just yawned. So are you ready for bed? It's just, oh, and now she said I'm really boring, which I probably am. But
don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on all of our socials. We're across Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok.
TikTok, WhatsApp, email. It's on the screen. Jennifer, put it on the screen, please.
We've got you covered. She's asleep. You put us to sleep.
This ending is a little bit not very professional, but we'll just do it. We'll take it. You know what? It's been a long arse day for me.
Your skates are tired too.
Huh?
Your skates are tired.
Why are my skates tired?
Because they skated tonight and they haven't in weeks.
That is very true. All right, you guys, we'll see you next week.
Produced by Be Inspired Media, the content and podcast agency.